Hi everybody, I'm Diana. Welcome to my channel, Build a Quilt, where we create patchwork quilting with the hoop of our embroidery machine and a little bit of wash away stabilizer. This particular video is a recap of our Wednesday night live, our Wednesday workshop live from last night, the 19th of March. Why am I doing a recap? Actually, let me take this banner down. There we go. Why am I doing this recap video? Because yesterday was the craziest weather day I've ever experienced in my 60 plus years of life on this planet. We started out the day super windy. We were having a windstorm, like 40 miles an hour sustained and up to 50, 60 gusts. Then it was just cloudy, really cloudy all day. And then we got the notice tornado watch about 9:30, 10 in the morning. I thought, okay, this is going to be an interesting day. And then about 2 in the afternoon, the sky turned the dirtiest yellow color, yellow brown that I've ever seen the sky turn. And that's not typically the color of a tornado. A tornado is more of a sickly green color, like you've eaten a really bad egg kind of color that you turn from getting sick from something like that. It was not that color. It was this yellowish brown. And back on Saturday, we had been under a air quality alert. We were way in the red zone for air quality, and you couldn't see when you walked outside. You could see like the end of the block, but the sky, everything was, again, this yellowish brown. And what we found out is that on Saturday, there are some wildfires, I believe, in Oklahoma. I'm sorry, Oklahomans, if it wasn't your state, I apologize, but I believe that's what I heard on our Chicago weather. We live in northeast central Illinois. We're about 60 miles south of Chicago. And so on Saturday, that was smoke, which was causing the bad air quality. And that never used to happen, but more and more with more and more wildfires. We've seen it like every year now. This is going on the third year. We've had occasions like that where our air quality gets that bad because of smoke in the air. And we go, okay, you stay in, that kind of thing. And so yesterday at about 2 o'clock, it looked like that again. And I didn't think to check the air quality monitor on my phone because we were under this tornado scenario. And it started just dumping down rain, but it wasn't water. I mean, it was water, but it was dirt. What was coming down, I went outside because what came down in my hand was like little pools of dirt, like a little mud puddle in my hand. And when my husband, Dave, all of you who are with us regularly know my sweet Dave, when he got home, our car looked like somebody had dumped mud on it. And so did every other car that had been sitting outside when that dirty rain happened. I've never seen anything like that. And then by the time we were ready to go live with Build a Quilt, we had already had the tornado sirens go off a couple times. They went off again, like right before I was due to go live. I didn't think I was going to be able to. And then the tornado that had touched passed. We were still under alert, but there was no longer a tornado specifically in the area. And I thought, let's just jump on and do our Wednesday night live. And apparently, when I went back and tried to check the tape, it was horrible. It was skippy. You couldn't hear me. I was out of sync. The picture would go in and out. So I thought, instead of leaving that up, I will do a recap today, and then you'll know all the important bits. And then I should tell you, so it's unusual for us to have 70-degree weather in March, at mid-March, but we have been. This morning, the temp had dropped to 24 and we had snow. And because we were still also under a wind alert, we were technically having a blizzard. So we went from tornadoes to blizzards and dirty rain in the middle, all in 24 hours. It was a totally weird weather day. Anyway, that's why I'm doing this recap. So thank you all for watching. And if you've been looking for the Wednesday workshop live, replay video. I just took it down because you couldn't see a thing. It was horrible. So for those of you that did show up last night, thank you so much. It was a pleasure to be with you all. We got almost through the whole hour. And then as soon as I got off the air, we were right back into the shelter for another tornado. It was wild. So the first thing I'll go over with you is just a reminder that this month, our mini quilt of the month for March is our Bloom quilt. Let me hold that straight for you. Is our Bloom quilt. This is our Quilt Lab project for this month. So if you're a Quilt Lab subscriber, you've already received your code for your download. If you are not a subscriber, you can purchase this pattern at the website, and I'll give you all of that information towards the end of the video. This is our mini quilt, one big, beautiful tulip. I just love them. And last night I did show some pictures. I have 2 sets of hydroponically grown tulips that I'm growing in my kitchen. I forgot to bring the picture up now, but they're so beautiful and I love them because we lived for many years out in Washington, a couple of decades out in Washington State. And so the Skagit Valley has some of the most beautiful tulips you'll see outside of Holland. And so I did that kind of in honor because we're getting ready for the Tulip Festival in another few weeks out there. It's my favorite time of year. Alrighty, so that's our monthly mini quilt for Quilt Lab. We also talked about our easiest quilt along ever. We're in the middle of making our 4 patches using our Sarah Renee Clark color cube blocks. If you're interested in your own color cube, I do have an affiliate link below. That means if you go to that link and you purchase a cube, I do get a small commission. Thank you so much for your support. These cards I found a couple years ago and I love them because one card will give you at least 5, if not 6 colors that all work perfectly together. I can take my card to the fabric shop or shop my fabric stash, and I can put these colors together and know that I'm going to have a beautiful quilt. And so we're using them to learn about putting colors together, and we're making our easiest quilt along ever. So these were the golden roses. That's what we called these. These 2 from last week were from box number 2, color cube 2. And this was my block that I made. And I tell you, I didn't know if I would be able to put this one together personally because I'm doing all of these from my stash. This quilt's meant to be scrappy. And I found this one, which is this darker color here. I found this one, which is this color here. And then I found this one, which they're calling marigold. No, actually, yes, they're calling it marigold. It really, to me, is more like butterscotch. And then this one, they're calling yellow. It's really, do you remember as a kid, or maybe even now too, you loved your lemon lime slushies at the ice cream place? That's that color, I'm telling you. And so I found this, and it's actually got some gold metallic in it, so it works with that whole idea of the golden roses, and it works beautifully. It's such a great version of that color. So this, gosh, I'm dropping everything today. This was for that 4 patch. And then my second, where you're doing 2 4 patches a week. This was our second one. We called it Coral Reef. These colors are beautiful. These blues and salmons and flame color. So this is the block that turned out for this one. This is the dark and medium blue that you see here and here. This blue here is the lighter blue. That's really a true, if you were around in the 70s or early 80s and remember the powder blue tuxedo for the guys, that's that color. That's that color. Soft, soft baby blue. And that's what I picked for that. This I picked for the salmon color right there. Really good match there. And then this one down here is the one I chose to use for the flame, that color there. So that is my block that goes with that picture. I thought that turned out really good too, but I will say the golden roses ones surprised me. So it became my favorite block for the week. Then we also chose our new cards for next week. If you are following along with your own color cube, it is color cube number 1 this week. I changed them up a little bit. So I pick a bunch of random ones, show them to you guys, and you all pick 2 numbers and we vote. These are the 2 cards that got the most votes. So this one, we're calling this the Continental Divide. This reminds me when I moved from Florida to Washington State, I had to drive by myself because Dave was already at the Navy squadron where he flew out on Whidbey Island, Washington. And so I drove myself, and I drove up and over the Continental Divide, and it was glorious to see it, to stop and look out. And that's what this kind of reminds me of. And so that's what we're calling that one, the Continental Divide. Color cube, it's number card 247 if you're following along with your own. This has blacks, a true navy blue, a slate gray, a blue gray, and this is a very light salmon pink. Now, I'll tell you again, I'll give you the reminder I always say about using black. I don't recommend that you use a black fabric for a whole big piece, because that black is going to draw your eye to it in your quilt and kind of take away from the stuff around it a little bit. But what I do suggest is that you find a pattern that has these colors in it with black in it to highlight that black if you want to use the black color. That's my recommendation, but it's your quilt and you can do exactly what you want to do with it. So that was the first card. And this is the second card that we're calling like National Monument Desert. That kind of, I know there's a name for that, National Monument Valley or something out west, but that's what it kind of reminded me. This is also from Color Cube 1, number 52, if you're following along. Again, some beautiful cornflower blue. That's a real cornflower blue. Steel blue, kind of a mid-tone. Again, a marigold that looks very butterscotch to me. Again, flame and rust. And if you have your own cards, you know that on the back they show you the light, medium, and dark, because the whole idea is you don't have to match these exactly. If you have a print that has all those colors in it, I've done that with a lot of my blocks. I found one particular fabric that had all the colors. I made sure and made that one of the blocks in that particular 4-patch. So these are the 2 for next week. I am going to put out the picture in the community section that shows you these so that you know which colors you're looking for. Now, there was another part of the evening where we talked about Joann's a little bit. I have not really talked about Joann's, and I'm really not going to talk about Joann's again because I got a little ranty last night, and for that I apologize to those of you who are with me. I'm very sad that Joann's are closing. I do not think their fabric is junk. I think their fabric can be wonderful, and I think if you can get fabric, you get it where you can get it, and your quilts will be beautiful. Please don't let anyone tell you that your quilt isn't beautiful because you made it with fabric from a certain place. I think that's kind of ridiculous. But this is what I found out because I've done some research. You guys know I love this candlelit color, and I use it for my white. I don't use bright solid whites, but I use this whenever I need to put white in my quilts. It's actually a Kona cotton called Snow. I call it candlelight. They call it Snow. They can call it whatever they wanted. They created it, right? This I bought at my fabric shop, which is 2 hours away. I either have to drive 2 hours west or north to get to a fabric shop. And I bought it there. And I love it. But at Joann's, they have Kona cotton. Now, before I hear the scream saying, it's not the same quality, it's a lesser quality, let me dispel that myth, because I contacted Robert Kaufman Studios. I found a number. I dug around and found a number and called, and a very nice lady said, ma'am, we never sell different levels of quality fabric from any of our lines. She said the same Kona cotton you buy at your fabric store is the same Kona cotton that you're buying at Joann's. And I said, well, I've heard that there are different labels, and that's like the clue. One says Kona cotton, one says Kona solids or something like. She said, no, ma'am, those labels are made depending on who the retailer is going to be, what information they need and what information we need. So it sounded to me like it's strictly a bookkeeping thing. She said, yes, ma'am, that's the best way to put it. And so I said, so if I go buy Kona cotton in snow at Joann's, it's the same. She said, absolutely. In fact, she said, they don't sell any second level, what they call second level fabrics. Anything that doesn't meet their standard of top quality gets thrown out. They don't like give it to employees and stuff like that. They throw it away because they're putting their name and their reputation on it. So why sell something that's a lesser quality? So that came, as they say, came from, what's that called? It came from the something's mouth. It came from them. So this is my Kona cotton from my fabric store. This is my Kona cotton in snow from Joann's. And when I looked at them, I even got out my magnifying glass. When I feel them, when I feel a single layer of each one, they feel the same, exactly the same. When I looked at them, thread count the same, no pilling on them. It is the same fabric. And so I hope I have helped to dispel the myth that Kona cotton at Joann's is a lesser quality. It is apparently not the case. So if you have a Joann's, and we all know they're going out of business, and they still have some Kona cotton, and you love Kona cotton, it's a beautiful fabric for solids. I know I ended up buying like 10 yards of it because I use it so much. I don't know, I might have bought more. I bought everything they had in this color at our store, which was like a bolt and a little bit more. So it's more than 10 yards because I'll use it. This will probably only last me maybe a year or two at the most. So if you love Konas, please check out a local Joann's, and I think I ended up paying like somewhere between $5 and $6 a yard. So quite a bit less than I paid for the stuff I bought at my local fabric shop. So that was what we talked about a little bit. And then I had a little surprise for everybody. We have a couple new videos coming out. They're just finishing editing today and tomorrow. I might even try to get one of them out still today because I told them last night I would. On cutting your own fat quarters with Build-A-Quilt. It really works best and is more manageable if you use fat quarters. And you all know that we've had our fabric quantity sheet. It's a free download over at the website. And we've had that out there for a couple of years now, right? And what it told you was the amount of Build-A-Quilt segments, the cut size that you need to cut to make your segments for 42 and 45 inch width fabric per yard. So how many you could get per yard. But a couple of weeks ago, we talked about that for fat quarters because really I'm starting to work exclusively with fat quarters with Build-A-Quilt because it's so much more manageable. Manageable space-wise, makes quilt math super easy because you add and subtract small numbers. You might do a little bit of times tabling, like the kind you learned back in the 3rd grade, simple stuff. And so now I didn't print mine out in color, but we have the new version. It says updated to include fat quarters. So if you have an old one, fine. But if you want the new one, look for updated to include fat quarters. It's the only one out there now, but I have gone in and I've added the chart for how many squares, depending on if you're starting with a 7x7, 6x6, 5x5, 4x4, 3x3 cut, how many squares you can get out of each one, which will help to make your calculation for your quilt math super easy. So grab that again over at the website, mybuildaquilt.com. All right, everybody. Next week, we've got some new stuff coming to talk to you about. Very excited. We've got the new Cutting Your Own Fat Quarter video coming out. And I have been receiving a lot of questions over the last 4 or 5 weeks on whether or not fat quarter bundles are an effective or reasonable purchase for quilters to make. I made a video to answer that question because it's not a simple question to answer. And so take a look at that. It will probably either go out tonight or sometime on Friday. And don't forget that we do have our last quilt and coffee chat of the month tomorrow, Friday the 21st at 11 a.m. Central Daylight Time. I hope you'll join me for that. I look forward to being with you all then. Or if not, you can catch the replay afterwards, because hopefully we won't be in the middle of a tornado or a blizzard. One of the two. It was both yesterday. All right, everybody. If you need to contact me, please do it. support@sewincommon.com. I'll get back with you ASAP. If I don't have the answer, I'll let you know. I'm researching it and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. If you are new to our channel and any of this was a little interesting to you, then please subscribe, like, and share. We have hundreds of videos here on how to create beautiful patchwork quilts with your embroidery machine. Right here with the Build a Quilt system. We'd love to have you as part of our community, and thank you so much for joining us. If you are one of our normal subscribers, thank you all for catching this recap of yesterday's totally botched Wednesday workshop live because of the weather. I appreciate you all watching again. And until next time, go grab some fabric and quilt life beautiful. Bye for now, everybody.